Welcome to Tech at the Table. I'm Roy Ritthaler, I'm your host, and today I am honored to have as my guest Christine Russo. Christine, welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's getting towards the end of the day. It's been one of those days where I've been talking all day, so hopefully my voice holds up the whole time. See how it
No,
goes.
yeah,
We'll
me
see how
too.
we do. We see.
That's right.
So you're director for in IT for procurement and sourcing for a government contractor, as far
Correct.
as I understand,
Yeah,
correct?
that's right.
And that's a global role, right? Like
It is.
you buy and sell all over the world, and you have a lot of technology underneath you as well.
Yes. Yes.
Um, Explain a little bit, just from a background point of view, what you do, kind of what's your not even day in the life, but kind of responsibilities, area of expertise, just so the audience gets to know a little bit where you are and
Sure.
where your thought leadership comes from.
Sure. So, large background in IT. I spent 20 years actually doing IT work,
Okay.
operations, that type of thing. But moved into the sourcing and procurement world about 4 years ago. And we generally,
Oh,
my team supports IT. So, anything we do from buying hardware, software, services, cloud, and now AI, which I know we'll get to that
we
topic.
will. We have.
Um, so my team is handling all of that for our company, whether it's indirect spend, and we're moving a little bit into like a direct government spend, but generally we focus on indirect.
Hmm.
And so we, buy about $2 billion a year of IT commodity. So we're busy, right? And so we're
That is
supporting
covered.
all the areas of IT. My team of folks are tremendous in what they do. They have to understand the business and go out and source and buy. Um, Again, and asset management, until just recently, I had the entire gamut of software, hardware, asset management underneath me.
Cloud, now cloud. You had all the cloud services as
All of
well.
it.
All of
Correct. And I still do. So cloud is still part of our organization, and we distribute all of our software, package it. That's still part of a global supply chain function.
it.
But
Okay.
we're coupled with the SAM organization because we can't do anything without them, and vice
Okay.
versa. So,
So that's a pretty wide remit, and it's interesting. One of the reasons because we talk, we have Christine and I have known each other for a number of years. We work together as supplier and customer, so we've had a really positive relationship over the years. But the thing that I've always found fascinating is how integrated you work, how in an integrated fashion you work across supply chain functions, purchasing functions, and asset management and technology functions. It's all one thing in your organization and the way you do work. So, you know, most of my customers, most of the world don't look at it that way. They don't have the same integrated perspective. So tell me a little bit about that and why you think they need to be tied. You clearly do. I know you have
yeah.
strong opinions on this.
Yeah. So, I mean, historically, you look at procurement, they're transactional, right? And they're worried about what we
Mhm.
buy, how quick
Mhm.
we buy it, how much does it cost, that type of thing. And ITAM was always thinking about like, what did we purchase? Who owns it? How's it
Right.
being used? Is it delivering value? Are we compliant?
Mhm.
So even like, that to me is historically when you look at it the way it was even 5 years ago. Well, today I think we're looking at it in a different lens where
Okay.
you can't do one without the other. So they have to know, Sam needs to know what procurement's doing. Procurement needs to know what Sam's doing. The data that they need to share is so important for us to make the right decisions, right? Bad data equals bad decisions, right?
Right.
So, and I know
Right.
we'll probably get to a data topic as
We
well.
will. I'm sure
It's
we will.
so integral in everything that we do. So when they're siloed in different organizations
Yeah,
and they're
tell me
not,
what that looks like. Is it?
it's never been good, right? You have ITM running around doing what they do best. You have procurement, sourcing running around what they do best. But if they, when they're not talking, I mean, it's just for years it was detrimental to what we were
Yeah.
able to accomplish. You're buying too much, you're not buying enough. We didn't know what was being bought, so we didn't have the
Hmm.
entitlement. So how do you effectively manage either side of it without that integration and acting as a single team?
So you were the one that did you bring them together in your current company? You did.
It
Okay.
did.
So you were the change agent. You were the one that the
Yes.
catalyst. You made it happen. Okay.
Yep.
So what does it look like? There was a reason you did it. Okay. So there's
Hmm.
something you went away from, and then there's something you went towards. There were some benefits from it. So explain like the before and after when you why did you decide to move? What compelled you? Why did you go there? And then what were like the low-hanging fruit, the immediate benefits that you saw when you made that change? How did that
Yeah.
go?
So what kind of drove me to move the team into the global supply chain organization is when we were really getting more mature in the space,
Mm.
and we're not perfect yet. I mean, probably better than me. SAM is a revolving journey, complex with
Technology
SaaS,
is always
right? So,
changing. Everything's
right. So
changing about it,
it's
right? And
always
the
a
tech
complex,
we understand.
type of but we were pretty mature. And what we lacked was that knowledge of the procurement information or
Yeah,
what was on the horizon. So we were always feeling like we were chasing down what was happening. And years ago, before I had this organization, the director at the time was very much a forward thinker and said, "Oh my gosh, like we need to be a part of this procurement process. We need to approve every procurement that happens in the IT
right,
space." And
right.
everybody was like, "You're crazy, right?" But she was right. So it was kind of strategic move of we came out of IT, went into an operations organization for a little bit, and then strategically moved into supply chain about 4 years ago. And it really was eye opening for the SAM team because they're like, why are we moving over there? Because a lot of
They're
people
tech
didn't
people,
really get
right?
it.
They, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
they're like,
Yeah,
why do we belong there? We should be in IT. And my buyers and sourcing contract folks were like, why are we doing this? And so, but as we started converging the teams, and we put buyers and SEAs with licensed managers on a team, and we got the engineering teams together. Everybody's focused on engineering,
yeah, yeah,
desktop apps, and they were like, "Oh my gosh! Like we didn't understand that you needed our data for X, and this PO data aids you in doing this." So it was like eye
yeah.
opening, right? So again, underlying data was the key, right, to everybody going, "Oh,
Sure.
yeah, well, this makes sense," So
So you can do that, like you can do that still in separate organizations. You guys
you can,
chose to put it in, you could, in theory,
yes,
right? There are
yes,
things. So what blocks it? I've seen it blocked so often in corporate America, the Global 2000. I've seen it blocked where there's silos. The silos don't cooperate well enough. Because of that, there's data gaps, there's information gaps, there's opportunity gaps, and you just don't get the same results, right? You don't get the same efficiency, the same outcome. So what do you think really blocks it? What are the blockers in your mind?
I think
Keeps
I think a lot of executive sponsorship does,
okay, so it's tough down.
yeah, I mean, some executives just don't understand it either, right? I mean, we
Okay,
struggled for years with even getting our CIO years ago at the time to grasp what asset management was about and why it was important, right? They're
yeah,
like, oh, just, why do I need a team of people doing this? Big deal, right? And so I think when folks that I talk to in the industry or my peers in other industries say, oh my gosh, how did you do this? And they don't get that buy-in because people don't understand the connection.
yeah,
But, you know, again, the functions are inherently different, but they do converge. Um, I just think when I look at future, right,
mhm,
and what it how procurement needs to work and how asset management needs to work. When IT technology and IT procurement, it just isn't about buying technology cheaper, right? It's
right,
managing technology smarter throughout the life
yeah,
cycle.
okay, right,
Asset management kind of helps with that. And when you look at them together, they create operational intelligence that we need to control cost and reduce risk and all that type of thing. So
yeah.
people just need to start thinking about it a little differently.
I'm
Um,
going to get to the data. We're going to have to talk because you said the word operational intelligence, so that just says data, screams data to me. But
yep.
before we do it, the other thought is around incentives. A lot of times I've seen between organizations, and when I think asset management, first off, I'm thinking in the large. It includes FinOps and includes
Yep.
cost of technology in general, cost and best use of technology in general, right? We're on the same page there. So
Yep.
that's true. Incentives are different, right? Like I've seen this with other guests on Tech at the Table, where a FinOps team can be motivated to cut costs. And that can be incredibly appropriate in some parts of the application portfolio, but then it's completely inappropriate in other parts of the application portfolio. They're spending
Yeah.
as many tokens as they possibly can to get innovation driving going forward, for
Right.
example, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So it all depends, and so the incentives are sometimes misaligned. I could imagine exactly the same thing between a sourcing and supply chain team, managing vendors, is trying to get the best possible deal, not just lowest cost, but the best relationship with a vendor, and the tech guys who are thinking in terms of cost or in terms of other completely different metrics. Is that true? Am I reading that correctly, or do you
No,
see?
yeah, you are. You are. I mean,
Okay.
you kind of said the words I was thinking, procurement sourcing, they prioritize cost, speed, sourcing leverage, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're
Right.
executing RFPs, they're validating market pricing, they're unlocking savings, right?
Right.
That's what they want to do. Asset management is like life cycle control, data accuracy, compliance,
Right.
those types of things. So, but when you think about the two together, um, they all really are driving to the same thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, it
don't,
is. It is. It's very interesting. So, you know, one of the things that's changed, and I'll go back into the cloud space, is cloud marketplace. So cloud marketplace has changed the world of purchasing, I would think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, in the
yep,
last while. And so much of the bill now is around the software and the services that you buy above the infrastructure.
yep,
That must have been like as you were getting into this position, that must have been a real driver of change. Did
yes.
that it was one of those discontinuities, or am I
Yeah,
getting that
yeah.
right?
I mean, it really, and I think about the differences and really what it's about. It's about operating models. And so
Yeah, okay.
cloud
Yeah.
marketplace has really shifted our operating model. We
Tell me
we
more about
moved
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved from buying from a slower RFI RFP cycle to where
Right.
now we have fast discovery, we have shortlist, we can definitely different procurement channels, right? We have several different procurement channels, but it also poses a little bit with all those advantages. It proposes a little bit of risk to us too, right? So we have to have governance, we have to have cross-functional alignment, because we
Hmm.
just don't want everybody going out there and getting whatever they want, right? Because we still
Right.
have standards, we have cost control we need to think about. So it's a different operating model than what we've used to, for years. The typical, oh, I have a PO, I got a quote, right? It's instant, in most cases. So it's add complexity, but it's also added great, cycle time improvements for us, and
Okay.
just able to leverage, the vast marketplaces out there.
It's interesting you say it's a different operating model. We'll get back to that one, but I'm gonna jump into data now because I think we have to elephant in the room or elephant, well, a couple of elephants. So the data, I read this paper years ago when I first got to Flexera 5 years ago. I read this paper. I think it came from one of the large consulting firms. It was really good about the integration of data across the supply chain, the integration of asset and technology data inside that process, and the changing nature of the relationship with suppliers. Okay, it was a really high tone sort of digital transformation view of the world, but it's really right there, I think. Okay, but all of that is built on shared, understood, semantically correct data, and I know that's been a big push away from spreadsheets and spreadsheet jockeys
Yes, yes.
into. So explain that to me a little bit, and how you made that transition and how you look at data today and how you manage it.
Yeah. So I'd say one other word that you mentioned here about data, I think it's trusted data
Trusted.
is a
Okay.
big thing,
Yeah.
where I always call it trusted data, because in order to be successful, you have to have that.
Yeah.
And that's hard, right? It's very hard in our industry. So yeah, we started, and I think you and I've had this conversation where we always laughed in the very beginning down our asset management journey. We had two men in a spreadsheet. That's what we called it. And it was, I mean, we had, hundreds and hundreds of data centers. We had hundreds of sites in all 50 states and over in Europe. And nobody did things consistently. Everybody had their own little spreadsheet, or they had their
For sure.
access database, where they say, oh, I got this, I got these PCs, I got these servers, and their fields were inconsistent. So when we came together to do this, back in 2011, and I got pulled into it, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I have hundreds of spreadsheets and I don't know how to make sense of this.
Wow.
It was manual, right? I mean, you could only do so much with pivot tables back then, and things didn't make sense. So, I mean, just that was an indicator that a company that relied heavily on our infrastructure and our IT space, we just didn't really have a handle of what we owned, where it was. When was the refresh cycle? Was it leased? Was it bought? So we really had to take maybe the first 2 or 3 years of this journey doing physical inventories, like old school,
Yeah,
just
you had to go do it.
going, yeah. And then, consolidating. And then we got a tool that we were able to feed data into, and got that consistency of process. Still, automation didn't exist much back then,
Hmm.
um, but at least we were able to start somewhere to get a baseline and then build off the top of it. But I mean, still to this day, data is not golden for. I mean, it's the golden ticket. That trusted data is what we need, but we're still not there. I don't know any company that is.
Yeah, I think
So
data is it's a process, right? Again, it's an operating model, continued, because data grows, data is diverse, data has all,
yeah,
and your problem space keeps growing. But on the other hand, you
yes,
keep refining to get to that better and better quality,
right,
right? I would think.
yeah, yeah.
Th-
And when I
How do you like? I think of data both as on the. There's at least three facets these days, but there used to be two. One is sort of on the decisioning side, better trusted data, quality data, better decisions, and the other is the measurement side. Good decisions are measured by outcomes, and outcomes are measured by data. So comment a little bit on how you think of that and how your teams orient themselves around it.
you guess more about like metrics on how
Yeah,
data.
metrics on the, well, they're all metrics at some level,
Yeah,
but what are the key decision points and how do I use data to drive those? And then on the other side, how do I know that I made a good decision and how do I know that that decision's led to a good outcome on the metric
yeah,
side?
and again, I'd say we still struggle in some
Hmm.
aspects with that
Sure.
because we in areas we do have great high quality data with base. I would say traditional. Let's just talk about licenses. Traditional licenses, we can go out there,
Yeah.
grab it. We don't use it when it was installed. When you
Yeah.
come with to SaaS, it's a little harder, right? Because companies don't want us to have access to that. So high quality data has to be the foundation for our analytics and our metrics. So I think we do things like um, gather data from different sources and use our data analytics to try to mush it all together and make
Hmm.
sense of it so that we can say in this space we're 90% good, in this space we still don't know what we're doing, right? And we're
Yeah.
more in the 90% space than not. So we measure that, and just we know what we have in the environment for the most part. We still have shadow IT like every company does, but what's
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
enterprise front, we know. We can assess based on that data. And then we also use our data to be able to say how good we are from a savings perspective. How we are with optimizing what we buy. With we may buy 100, but we're only using two. Oh my
Right.
gosh!
I
So
have
we're really using a lot of our data, whether it's utilization data or products that you all bring to market to help us gather, assess, and then make decisions based on that. I don't use spreadsheets anymore. Thank God, So
that's
it's
excellent. No, that, and I would think too that like from a making the case to move forward or to change strategy or to execute on something, and you have to go up the chain, that the data clarity makes
yes,
like it does make a massive difference, right? Like
yes,
the
yep.
C-suite's data driven. This is does it, how has that changed the game for you over the last few years, having done this approach?
It's tremendous because we 2 or 3 years ago we would go in to our CIO and with, I'll make it up, even though this is probably close to a real example, our Microsoft on-prem stuff.
Hmm.
And we'd be like, here's what we have, here's what we need, here's our demand signal going forward. And they go, how do you know? Like, show
Yeah,
me. Like,
yeah.
how are you
You're
just
always on
taking
defense. You're always
are you
taking it.
taking that swag or what?
Yeah,
Today we can go instantly and say, here's our data, here's where we got it from. We can show them the raw data if they want to see it. And
add
some of them
value.
do because they're data people.
Yeah, and
Um,
you want to have that available all the time.
yes,
It's the
we
unprocessed.
can we can bring it up and they know that it's solid and it's real. Now, do we swag some things still? I think you have to, right? I haven't
Mhm.
found anybody in the industry that is really good at what I call capacity planning or demand planning
Okay.
for 5 years out. It's hard, right? It's
It's a hard,
hard.
yeah. Well, the
So
market's variable, right? And the world's
yes,
variable.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we do have to make some guesses on that, but we do it based on trend data. So we can look back to say, based on X, and we know
Yeah.
this is, we generally are conservative because you can always go buy more, right? But I
Well,
think
which
just
is that's the symptom. The symptom is always buy more to buy a buffer and don't use it. And
right. That's, and we don't want to do that,
mm,
right? So, I mean, it's all about buying only what we need now, and then let's deal with it later. Now, we're only talking about software. If we want to talk about RAM, we'd have a whole different conversation today.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
from a software perspective, I think, we're very much conservative so that we're not overspending.
Yeah, I think I always use the concept of error bars, right? At least, like, I'm an
Yes.
engineer by training, the graph's
Yep.
got error bars, but at least you know what the error range is. It's
That's right.
better to go in with a bit of a swag with some error bars, but knowing what that range looks like so
Yes.
you understand
Exactly.
your outcomes and your expected outcomes. Yeah, that's
Yep.
interesting. So I've got to ask the question. Okay, so you know what's coming up. It's the two-letter word, right? It's AI. So this now that you've built a system that's, again, data is imperfect, but data is always improving, and you have a data-driven operating model around what you're
Yep.
doing. The teams are all collaborating around that kind of central view of data. AI. AI is all over the enterprise as a new type of technology, tooling and usage, different
Yep.
style of usage. It's getting it is the word popular is it's a change. It's an absolute fundamental shift in how people are doing things, how employees are doing things. But how do you approach AI, both from that point of view and from a use point of view inside your team?
Yeah. So I have to say, you and I had a conversation earlier about unpopular opinion. This is probably mine, right? So I
Oh,
am
you have an
not,
unpopular opinion. All right, lay it on
I
me.
am not a huge fan of AI. And I
Ooh,
say that
all right, I got my pen
a
out on
lot,
that one.
yeah. And a lot of people look at
Mhm.
me like, what? And it's not that I think it's like, I'll never use it because I do use it when it makes
Yeah.
sense. But I've always said for years that technology is going to be the end of us, right? And I think if we're not careful, that AI is going
Well, there
to
is
not.
that side of it. There's the
Right.
destructive
Yeah.
side of AI
Right.
that's really
And
present.
exactly. So
Yep.
so when I think of AI, so back to, I think it enables us to make decisions faster, right? That to me is the key benefit in my world.
Hmm.
I don't see it as a people replacer like a lot of people fear. I think we can do more with our same staff. And we struggle because everybody's understaffed, especially in
Right.
the space
Right.
I world the world I live in. So I am on board with AI, but again, I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I think it's only as good as the data that it's fed, right? So it can be detrimental if data that we're providing it is incorrect. So again, it all goes back to the data piece. So when we're looking at use cases and how we can have it help us, it's
Yeah.
our cycle time, it's summarizing agreements, it's we can feed information into it and ask it to spit out certain things that we need, and that is tremendously helpful. So I think there's absolutely areas that we should adopt
Mhm.
it and need to adopt it, and we're looking to adopt it, but it's not my favorite. I feel like it's a buzzword that's never going away, and it's okay. It's here, and that's great. But I am a little bit of a skeptic on how we're going to manage it broadly going forward. In
Mhm.
our world. So
And you're setting the tone for your team, right? Like in the sense that the rules of engagement around AI tech, that's coming from you, that's coming top
yep,
down, in concert with the rest of the company and so
yep,
on, right?
yep,
That's what's happening.
exactly. And we have a big push for it, and we're being a Department of Defense, Department of War contractor. We have some fences around us, which is
Fascinating.
good. A lot of our stuff is in house, but we're still utilizing what we can,
Hmm.
and we need to. Right? If we don't, it we won't survive. Right? So we are getting advanced in this space. We have internal things that we're using, and it has been tremendously helpful. Especially from a communications perspective. I mean, me, Roy. A lot of times I can't get my words out. And I think because my brain works faster than my mouth can. So it's, it's
Processors are larger than I.O. I understand. Yeah,
unless
I
we're talking
understand
about
all of
hockey and then forget it because my
it. There you
mouth
go.
works just fine. But I find myself going, okay, I know what I want to say, but how do I say this? And I'm, hey, ChatGPT, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so anyway,
Careful. You got to be careful. Yeah, and the proliferation of the tech as well. It's
yeah,
everywhere, right? And
it
I
is.
know. through, again, you might, as in your kind of business, you have stronger controls than
Yes.
many others. Although all are really concerned about it infiltrating.
Sure.
It's not non-sanctioned use, compliance
Yeah.
to
Yes.
corporate standards and otherwise, right? That's a big issue.
Yes.
Even in your supply chain, I would imagine that it has to go
Oh yeah.
through a lot of
Yes.
compliance checking.
Yes. I mean, even just the terms and conditions when we're setting up an agreement for use of AI
Yeah,
has been hugely, a show. I won't say it's showstopper, but it's added cycle time, right? Because now we have this whole new world we got to figure out.
you do.
You just can't put standard terms with an AI, use contract. It's got to be different, and it's still new. Like people are still figuring out, like,
Yeah.
does this make sense to put this in? So it has added some complexity as it's taking out, complexity too. So
I like
yeah,
the way you said that. It's both. It's both sides
yeah,
of that equation. That's
yep,
fascinating. Okay.
yes,
So I'm gonna change slightly here. You were the one that changed the way your company, how they integrated the functions across, into this integrated, purchasing, supply chain, asset management, technology function. You did that through your own leadership. You're relatively new in it. How did you do that as a tech leader, as somebody who'd spent time in operations coming in new? How did you pull that off? How did you make that happen? Because
so,
without you, it probably wouldn't have, or it would have been slower.
well, I'm pushy at work. Um,
There's the
so,
answer.
so my team, I would say I have probably one of the best teams, and I would challenge any company, right? I have people who have been on my team for
Mhm.
15 years, and
Yeah.
they believe in what we do, and they understood the journey. So they came along this path with
Right.
me,
Okay.
and they were right behind me, feeding anything that needed to be fed to make this happen. But I would say I've had very, very good leaders, very good vice presidents in operations, CIO, and in procurement and sourcing that have taken the time to listen, right? And to say, okay, at first they were all like, how does this make sense? So we just had to keep communicating,
Yeah.
showing them. And I think even when we moved the team 4 years ago, there was still this little bit like, all right, let's just see how this works. But
Okay.
as we started integrating and when we be presenting at PMRs or operations reviews, light bulbs started going on, and they were like, oh my gosh, yes, this
Step
makes
change.
sense.
Step
We
change.
understand, right? And again, it's, regardless to me, reporting structure, as long as we stay totally integrated and
Hmm.
operate as an
Hmm.
integrated team, a program team, whatever we want to call it, it's going to just be as successful as if everybody's sitting
Yeah.
under, me or another director.
But still, let's not discount the leadership that it took. You had to be a little bit pushy, but you had to have backing upstream. You had to have a
Yep.
team behind
Yep.
you. You were the
Yes.
catalyst. You had to take risk. All of that
Yep.
stuff. I do think this is the way, and I think even AI will help make this the
Yes.
way. The way you've approached it with the data foundation, layering AI when you need to, bringing the functions together into one operating model. That is
Yes.
the way. It is the way of
Yes.
the modern enterprise.
Yes.
It
Yep.
is. You are in
Exactly.
the vanguard, Christine. You are the one. If anybody in the audience has any questions on how to get that done, Christine is your person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Be happy to talk about it
Okay,
for sure.
great. Okay, very cool.
Love to.
Saying that, just a few words on where you think it's going next, like your vision for the future, next few steps. The world's different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Pace of change, not just pace of
Yeah.
change, the magnitude of change and the pace combined.
Yeah.
So where
God.
are you taking
I wish I could see the future, right? Because I mean, if you
it?
asked, even if we sat here 2 years ago,
Yeah,
and again, I know we're focused on software, but think about what's happening in the hardware space, right? Which is it's very disruptive to IT. It's disruptive to our supply chain.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
very hard when we have these great technology companies who are buying all the RAM to do AI, right? And then we can't get it to do our base, our
yeah.
foundational,
Yeah, it's really a different
infrastructure.
market.
So
Market.
it really is. So who foresaw that? Like, I don't think anybody did, right? Which is alarming in itself, but that's okay. So I think next for us is really about modernizing our supply chain practices because I think we have really good foundational practices. So how do you modernize that to fit in to this technology space that we're in using AI, making sure that We have the integration with our technical team to understand what we need to go do to support their
Mhm.
business objectives.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
what my program managers that I have in line today are doing. They're building category management plans for IT space so that we can go out there and be on top of it. And it's tough staying on top of
Yeah.
technology for a technical person, let alone for a sourcing and procurement and an asset management person. But we have these tight teams where sending them to market research summits, whatever we can do to keep them up. But I think that is going to be a key for us to be successful
Love that. Okay,
going forward.
that's powerful. That's actually a very powerful vision. Thank you. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for sharing all of this. Like this has
No,
been sometimes when you're a pioneer and a leader in something, you think of it as oh, it's just what I do. It's part of the way I do my work. It's how I think. It's the way it
no.
is. But I'm telling you, you are in the lead in this and across many, many industries. So I want to like congratulate you. It's a big deal how you're doing it and how you're approaching it and the progress that you've made and kind of where you're
Okay.
taking it. So
That's good to know because sometimes we feel like, oh my gosh, we're not doing enough, right? Or
yeah,
we're not far enough into this. But I do
of
like
course. But
it's never good enough.
you guys are doing it well. So
Right.
any last words? So we're about to end. Any last words for the audience? They're all thought leaders out there. They're learning from you. What do you want to leave them with?
No, I just think it's if you have an idea or you have an end game, don't stop till you get it. I mean, there's many a times where I'm like, I am done with this battle. Like I felt like it was a battle every day coming to work,
Yeah,
but you can't, right? Because I knew it was right, and I have a very strong passion for what I do and the team that I lead. I mean, we are all side by side in this, so I think when you have enough passion about what you're doing and believe in the end game, you're not going to stop till you get there. And no, like even if you're told no, don't stop. Just keep going at it until you get
yeah.
what you know is right for the business.
There's
So
the secret to success and the secret to great
yeah,
leadership. Hey,
persistent.
Christine, it's amazing. It's really good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Ha- have a good, you and I are both hockey fans. We're waiting for the summer to get by before we do battle again next year. You won this year. I'm going to win the next year, though.
Barely, but
Yeah,
my second team is doing good, so we'll
so is
see.
mine. Okay, we'll talk. Okay, we'll talk. All right, Christine. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Roy.
Okay,
All
have a
right,
great
talk
day.
to you
All
soon.
right, bye.